Hello, my name is Matthew Thomas, and I'm a journalist for TheThings, and I'm here with the Survivor legend, the Queen, Sandra Diaz-Twine. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. I'm ready to dive in and let's see what you're going to ask me.
Okay, well, I mean, the first question off, right off the hop, because it's the big topic that people are talking about that I'm dying to hear your opinion on. What do you think of the Survivor 50 cast?
I wish it was more diverse. It's been 50 seasons, so I wish we would have had at least equal as far as old school players versus the new era. At least one out of every 4 seasons would have gotten a spot because there's a lot of amazing players out there that have never seen a second shot. And here we are with people that we've already seen what they can do or what they can't do for that fact, as a matter of fact. And so what are we going to see new from them this time around? So I would have liked to see more people get the opportunity to play for a second time.
Do you think it's unfair the way that the season has been like cast? Because to me, like it seems like the new era players would have much stronger connections and have like an advantage going into that because they've all played recently together.
Yes, I agree with that because they're able to keep up with the pace of the game versus the old school players that are used to playing a different, slower type of game. And I just don't like that they outnumber the old school players. But going back to Winners at War, a lot of people assume that the new school players had taken out the old school players, but we did that ourselves. We screwed ourselves. We shot ourselves in the foot. No one else did it. We were the ones taking each other out, and that's the only reason it ended up being like that. But I do think that it's way like to see Kyle, Joe, and who's the third one from this past season? Kyle, Joe, and Camilla. I don't think, I mean, Kyle didn't have to go in there, and I don't think Joe either. I'm glad Camilla's there, but I think we would have had, it would have been better if we just had Camilla. And I mean, we've seen what Kyle can do. He doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. Joe's probably going to go in there with the same type of game, seen it. We already know what he's about. So I wish other people like they would have taken those two spots at least and given it to other players.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I'm super excited to see Camilla back, but at the same time, I'm actually frustrated that Kyle's back. Not because I didn't like Kyle, because I loved Kyle and I loved them as a pair, but I want to see what Camilla could do when she's outside of that relationship. But she spent the entire season essentially in Kyle's shadow, in from what we saw. So I wanted to see what she could do without him being around.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Two wasted spots, but let's see what happens.
Is there anybody specific that you wish had come back?
Oh my God, if you go back season after season, we could easily name a handful of people that made it to the final three that never got to play again that were worthy of a spot, you know? Um, and even recent players, there's so many. That's why it's hard to just pick one, like one over the other. There's so many deserving players.
I'm personally really disappointed that if they were going to bring so many new era players back, that they didn't bring Omer back because I thought he was fantastic and I really wanted to see more of him on the show too.
He was amazing. Jesse was amazing. Carla was amazing. So many, so many.
How do you
Not
feel
just
about seeing some of the players that you have played with coming back? Like specifically, I was curious if you had an opinion on Coach coming back.
what's Coach gonna do this time around? What's Sari gonna do this time around? What's Ozzy gonna do this time around? I mean, they're great, they're awesome, but what are we gonna see brand new? I would have preferred to see Rob Sesternino go out there for a third time.
Yeah, I really, really wanted to see Rob coming back. The only one of that trio, though, that quad, whatever you call it, group of four, that I'm kind of interested, really interested actually to see come back though is Coach because I feel like it could be really interesting to see how he plays this time after the last time he played, where he got to the end, he played like the way he always claimed he wanted to play, to see if he can actually mix things up after he got to the end and didn't get the title.
I would prefer to see Stephanie in his position, which she is out there. So I'm hoping she shows us what has changed and what she's learned and how she's evolved after season 20 being her last season, 30 seasons later. What's she going to bring to the table? For coach, I mean, I played with him. I don't know that he could show me anything brand new.
You don't think so?
No, and besides, you know what? Everyone's gonna always have the excuse of, oh, I was taken out too early because I was a threat.
Sure, sure. Is there anybody on the cast that like jumps out at you as being someone who could potentially win the season?
Um, 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 Emily,
Interesting. Why Emily specifically?
because I think she has what it takes. Camilla.
Yeah, yeah. I could totally see her going really far, if not.
But I think they're gonna be scared of her. They've seen her play. That's what's gonna hurt her. And if there's players like they say from season 49 that are out there, those will probably be the first two targets because they're unknown. They're obviously there for a reason. Why would they be on season 50? So I think but I'm excited to see. Oh, and Genevieve. I mean, there's so many good new school players that are out there that had the potential to go, to win their seasons. Q, I don't know what he's gonna do out there. Like,
I'm interested to see Q coming back because he's such a chaotic guy. Like that moment when Liz like had that utter meltdown and then he like just basically didn't sell it at all. He was just like, "Well, I don't care. You're still not coming." Like that was amazing.
yeah, I mean, anybody could be sarcastic. I just wish that they would have thought it through. Like, supposedly Jeff thought it through. If he did, why do we have this cast? Watch season 51 be a returnee season and be better than 50.
That would be quite something. I could totally
They're
see
gonna
that
call back
happening.
everyone that they sent packing that they didn't allow to play the game, like Carolyn, Abby, Jerry, and those are the people that had their hearts set on playing, and watch it be a better season.
So I still want to talk to you about Survivor 50 more, but I have to ask a follow-up question to one of the things you said there. Because you mentioned that you thought that the Survivor 49 players were going to be out first because they're like unknown quantities. So that makes me wonder, like, because during Heroes versus Villains, of course, Russell Hayes came in the exact same position. He makes it to the final tribal council with you. So like, what was the difference there? Why didn't he get
That's exactly the reason I'm saying they shouldn't be there because they're unknown. I remember when we first saw Russell at the airport, he was toting a Bible, and then he ends up on the villains tribe. And then he started asking me on day one, once he found out I was a winner, like, what do you do with the $1 million check? Like, how soon after it hits the bank can you start spending the money? What kind of interviews do you go on? Like, just weird questions. And I turned around and I told, after speaking to him, I remember telling Courtney and Boston Rob, if this guy didn't win his season, he thinks he did, you know, because of his line of questioning towards me. Um, but I'm glad I wouldn't change a single thing on Heroes versus Villains. It was perfect because I remember telling him, like, going up against me in poverty means you're automatically going to win. There's no person here on the jury that's going to give me or her another win. So you're guaranteed the $1 million. And he bit into it. And that's how we ended up at the end with him. He thought he couldn't lose. And I honestly believe he thought he won 19. But after being at our tribal council when he knew he had lost the game, and then sitting at his finale of 19 and realizing he just lost, he knew he lost 2 seasons back to back. But because of Russell, I'm saying when it comes to season 49 players, because it's not fair that we don't know anything about them, take them out.
I mean, I honestly, that's actually really fascinating for you to say because like that puts the Russell's reaction when he was at the final tribal the vote reveal, I should say, during 19, like where he looked so incredibly heartbroken. That puts that in a whole other context because, like you said, he figured out by then that he wasn't going to win 20. So
Oh yeah,
that had never occurred
look,
to me.
he had hopes of winning 19. He sounded confident enough to have won 19 when he came to do 20.
Yeah.
But at 20, I mean, they dogged him at tribal council like they dogged me. I thought Parvati won. So he knew he didn't get any votes. I knew I was going to get Courtney's vote and maybe Candace, one or two votes. I didn't expect to get as many as I did. But he knew like they dogged him.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. So getting back to Survivor 50, there's another specific player I want to ask your opinion about because the one of the, if I had to predict who would win at this moment, and I actually just wrote an article about it. My pick is Jenna Lewis from Survivor Bardio because I think that she's like a very underrated player. Like what she pulled off during Survivor All Stars. Like if she had made it to that final tribal council, I think she would have won handily. And but she also had like a lot of social skills where she built a lot of connections with a lot of people in the game. But like I said, I think she's totally underrated by most people. So I don't think she's going to go in there with that like legacy where people are going to be targeting her. So if you combine the two, to me, she's got a really solid chance of, if not winning, going far. Do you agree with that perspective? Like, or do you have a different take?
I do. I agree with everything you're saying. As a matter of fact, I forgot she was on the list because it's been so long. And I can't sit here and tell you that every single player that's out there has seen every season of Survivor. A lot of times they skip through them. They get to the most important ones or the top three or whoever casting says these are the ones you have to watch. Heroes versus Villains, Pearl Islands, Cagayan, the ones that hit those marks, the best of the entire franchise. And so Jenna playing so long ago, they're not going to probably be threatened by her. And that's exactly what she needs to take her to the end. But she also has to contribute.
Sure. Sure, but like from what I've seen in the past, I think she definitely has the skills to contribute. I mean, it's obviously been a long time, so who knows what it's gonna be like when she goes in there now. But I feel like she has all the skills to potentially win. Well, I mean, obviously it's Survivor, a million things could not go her way. She could get voted out first. Who knows? But like in theory, I think she's like really set up really well.
Well, knock on wood. Let's root for her.
So
I mean,
and the other two Survivor
for every single person that's on this list.
Sure. So the other two Survivor 50 players that I'm very curious to hear your take on is Dee and Kyle, because they're the only two people who are going back after having won. So how are you going to feel if there's another person who gets added to the two-time winner club?
It's not gonna happen.
I don't think so.
I would bet money that it's not gonna happen. No, they've already won. They're gonna be held to a higher standard. People are gonna be jealous of what they've already achieved their first time around versus someone who's playing for the fourth, the fifth, the sixth time, you know? So when it comes to sending them packing or looking for a reason to vote someone off, being a winner is just the simpler version. Like you're a threat. You've already won before. Let's not get wrapped up around it. Let's just get them out. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to go.
So like that's exactly what happened during Survivor All Stars, where all the people who had either won or gotten really far got knocked out right at the beginning. But then during Heroes versus Villain, two former winners got to the end. Like, how do you think the two of you managed to stick around for so long and not get targeted like that?
Well, for me, I remember when Russell was telling me and Courtney one time on the beach, like one of you two are going home. And I simply said to him, if you allow me, because I know you're running this show, but if you allow me to make it to the merge and get a spot on the jury and you're one of the final three, I promise you my vote. And that's all I had to say. All I had to say, because he was like, okay, she's going to give me her vote. No, I wasn't, but yeah. It's what you want to hear. What I knew would be the difference and why I made it to the merge. And then at the end, I remember when it was like Parvati, Russell, and me, and they're like, Sandra, it's me, you, and Parvati, final three. And Jerry's like, Sandra, it's me, you, and Russell. I wasn't going to ruffle any feathers, but like I told you before, I told Russell, if it's me and Parvati versus Jerry, if you vote me out and pick Jerry, I'm going to vote for Jerry. Coach is going to vote for Jerry. Rupert's going to vote for Jerry. Colby's going to vote for Jerry. Danielle's going to vote for Parvati. You just lost.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense.
For me, it's simple. I just tell them simple things that make sense, and they're like, "Oh shit."
But you don't think it would work if Dee or Kyle try to do something similar or like try to point out like
No, because then they'll be like, "Listen, Sandra won on a non-winning season for the very second time. Tony only won because somebody from Winners at War had to win for a second time.
Sure.
There's no way Dee or Kyle are going to end up winning this season 50. Absolutely no way. They could even go like on an immunity run and still the first opportunity they get when when it's between me and you've already won, listen. And everyone else is a bunch of losers trying to get that win, they're going to go home. They're going to be outnumbered.
So that makes me think of another question too, where I'm curious. So like in the past, we have seen like you come back, Tony, other people come back, and then people who just joined the show who were either like celebrities or rich in some other way, who had a lot of money. How do you feel about people like asking that question at the final tribal council, where it's like, what are you going to do with the money, or factoring in stuff that outside of the game, like they already have, they don't need the money in their decision about who should they should give their vote to for winning.
Well, you just have to give them the kind of answer that they want, but no one's going to hold you to it, and no one's going to know whether you did what you said you were going to do with the money or not. So, I mean, it's just you just pacify that person and answer the question the way you feel they want to hear it answered so that you can get that vote. You don't have to get every vote, but you got to get as many votes as you can and enough to win. You just got to get the majority. And if me telling you what you want to hear so that I can get your vote, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give it the entire thing to, you know, the homeless shelter. Uh,
Yeah.
but how will you know what I did with that money? You're not. And as long as I donate a percentage,
Yeah.
you're still telling the truth. So many times we buy products and they say a percentage goes to the abused animals of America or feeding America. And then when you look at the nitty gritty, it's 2%.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not lying.
It's true. But like,
But
how do you feel?
those are questions that those are ridiculous questions. Like, why would you get all the way to the jury and that be the question that you want?
See, like, I completely agree with you. Like, but like, I'm curious. Like, how do you feel about people taking like in that into account when they do their vote? Like, if the person was like, say, like Mike White gets to the end of Survivor 50, he's obviously someone who has a very good career, most likely fairly wealthy. Do you think it should be like, would you ever consider the fact that he has this career and this money and whether or not to vote for him to win if you were on the jury?
No, for me, because I've watched Survivor over the years and I take into account what the fans want, they want a good, valid question and a good, valid answer. If you did everything right and you got to the end, then you deserve it, regardless of whether you have the White Lotus or you have $30 million or if you're a billionaire, you know? But the truth is, he's gonna go home too.
Yeah.
They're gonna take that into account. And you know, he has Angelina out there, or he has a handful of people, but not everyone is worried about whether they're going to make an appearance on White Lotus or not.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
I was wondering about
like
that
I
too.
know who he is. I've never run into him. I've never, you know, so if I were out there, I'm like, well, the chances of me making a cameo on his show are slim to none because for years, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
why now? So, you know, I'm not going to let that be the reason why I let him hang around.
Sure, sure. That makes a lot of sense. So the other big show that has people coming back right now is The Traders. So I also wanted to hear like what do you think about like Carolyn or not sorry, Jam Jam, Rob, and who's the third player? I can't
Natalie.
what's that?
Natalie.
That's the one. I can't believe I drew a blank on her because I love Natalie. But what do you how do you think they're gonna do when they go back for the Traders?
That's amazing. We got two winners and someone that knows every damn thing about reality TV. For me, I always feel like the survivors have a hill to climb because people are going to just always assume that the gamers and especially specifically the survivors are going to be made traitors. So it's hard. It's hard for them. But if anyone has the ability to uh minimize their threat, it would be the survivors. Also, because most of those people out there don't watch Survivor. And they're not going to say, what seasons do I watch? You know, like you have to be a Survivor fan and know all these people to say, oh my God, this person is a huge threat. Now, I've said it over and over again. If I'm a survivor and I'm going out there to play, I'd be like, listen, the ones that are always made initially a traitor by Alan are the big brother people. So don't worry about me. You know, like, you know, Parvati was made a traitor, but only by Dan and Phaedra. She wasn't initially brought in. So they can say that, you know, just to minimize their threat level. Um, but Jam Jam is a people person. He's gonna smooth everyone over. Rob, I don't know because he always, I mean, he comes across as very knowledgeable when it comes to reality as a whole. A lot of people may know who he is, and may perceive him just as maybe a reporter kind of guy where he's just the one asking questions and putting it out there for the fandom. And Natalie, she's just loud at times, don't get under her skin, but I have faith that one of them at least will get to the end.
I really couldn't be more excited to see Rob coming back after all these years. Because I mean, like, I am absolutely baffled that he wasn't brought back for Survivor 50 because he's publicly stated that he was willing to go. And I mean,
Yeah,
he's
but the players themselves probably wouldn't even give him a shot for the same reason because they put him under this umbrella of knowing everything from every season, having such a giant wealth of knowledge in his brain. So listen, he's got to go.
yeah, but I even if he's there for one episode, I'm still excited to see him come back because it's so overdue. And like, yeah, he got taken out during Survivor All Stars super early too, right? So it's been like so long since we got to see him really do anything. So I couldn't be more excited for him to come back.
I'm glad it's the traders that gave him a shot. I'm ready for the traders to give Richard Hatch a shot too.
Yeah.
Like that's overdue as well. Like I'm ready to see him um on the next season of five, season 6 of the traders. Like, come on, what are you guys waiting for? He's TV gold.
Yeah. So I also wanted to talk to you about like just your Survivor legacy. So like obviously you're like everybody calls you the Queen of Survivor for good reason. You're in the Survivor Hall of Fame. Like you're the one of only the two-time winners. So it might seem hard to say this, but I actually in a lot of ways feel like your legacy is actually underrated on Survivor because like for one, like I don't see anybody ever talking about how close you came during Pearl Island to having a perfect season because you never had a vote cast against you and you only lost one of the jury votes. So like do you feel like that part of your game is underrated because nobody seems to even recognize that that's how that season played out?
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody about that yesterday because I remember sitting there with Lil in the final two, and I just knew that she had won the $1 million simply because the Morgans said constantly, whatever Morgan gets to the end, they get our vote. Like it was automatic. It was automatically known. And the only one that ended up sticking to that was Tawana. That
Yeah.
was simply the only reason she got her vote because after the fact, she told me, I wish I would have voted for you, but she didn't. Like it's said and done. And my response would always be like, well, I didn't need it. Like just like you already screwed me. You're apologizing, but thank God I didn't need it. But it was just simply the fact that she was the only one that stayed true to what they had agreed to do, which was vote, which and the Morgans outnumbered everyone else on the jury.
Yeah.
Um, but Lil and Dara got into it thanks to Johnny Fairplay towards the end. Rhino was mad that she shouldn't have been allowed to even come back into the game. And because maybe he would have made it further on, but they had their selfish reasons. But yeah, I feel like my game a lot of times is underrated. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you didn't even say nothing." And I'm like, "Look, I'm a talker. Anywhere I'm at, I'm there and I do say things, but it's just what the edit has to be for that episode. It has to make sense for the producers what they want to put out there. On Game Changers, I wasn't hiding behind anyone. I was being Sandra to the fullest, and I think that's where a lot of people are like, Sandra doesn't even care. She's just out there being her, being loud and not hiding behind any meat shields or anything, but that's how I've always been. It just wasn't portrayed that way, but I've never had an issue with my edit anyway. I won, and so you really can't hide me.
Yeah. Do you care about that kind of thing at all though? Like, because you always strike me as like you've made several comments about how like you were there to win the money and you won the money. So was that at the end of the day the only thing that mattered to you? Like, do you care that people may be underrate how you actually played and how you got there?
But the ones making that comment are people that weren't even out there playing the game. That's the it's funny because I always say, for instance, you're writing about Survivor. It's always the podcast is always the person who knows the least about it. Like you guys are analyzing it from the outside in, but you're not the one out there. And a lot of times, if they were to go out there and play, they'd realize, and we hear it over and over again, it's easier from the couch. Yeah, it is. So I take it with a grain of salt because they really don't know the game. That's like me criticizing Big Brother. I'm not gonna go out there for 100 days and live in that house. I don't know what they go through, just what I'm seeing. So It really does. It doesn't bother me. It really doesn't.
I try to keep in mind the fact that like we only see such a tiny fraction of what happened out there, but at the same time, I also like I want to have fun criticizing and watching and all that stuff too. So it's
Get it? That's like me with Love Island. I sit here and talk all the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm not the one out there in a bikini. I'm not the one out there trying to find love. I'm not the one out there kissing all the boys. Like it's just what it is. You know, we don't know everything. And I say this a lot to the other Survivor winners. Like we're always getting pulled. Like, can you do this podcast and that And I'm like, why is it that all the people that have podcasts either have never played the game or even want it? Like, but you know, but here I am.
So the other way in which I feel like your legacy on the game is kind of underrated is like I don't think you've had as much influence on future players as I would have imagined you would have, because like everybody always talks about how you won twice by engaging the anyone but me strategy at the end of the day. Like you would try to push things maybe a little bit this way, a little bit that way, but at the end of the day, you didn't never seem to care about anything other than you not being the one who got out. I don't ever see players playing that same way. Do you think that that had as much of an influence as you would have expected?
It does because every season, if I'm not mistaken, there's always one person saying anyone but me or something along those lines, like self-preservation. But for me, that's all that really mattered. You
Yeah.
know, the money, the money, the money, my family, my family, my family. Like I always tried to make sure that what I was doing in whatever move, if I could even analyze the move in my head, how it was going to contribute to me getting forward in the game or why you're pushing me to do a specific move. If you're pushing me to do a specific move, it must really only just benefit you entirely or the majority. You know what I'm saying? And that then I don't care about that. But it brings me back to Tony and Boston Rob, where they're always there for their family as well. But if you do something to them, then you're doing something against them and their family. Where I'm like, wait a minute, I'm playing for me and my family too. You know what I'm saying? Why
Yeah.
does your family supersede my family? It doesn't,
Yeah.
you know. And we are pretty much those type of players where we'll ask for forgiveness later, but we're not asking for permission. You know what I mean? We're just gonna do it. Um, so with me and with my legacy and with the way I play and anyone but me, it is anyone. If you're going to be my friend, you're going to be my friend after the fact.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, we become friends out there. We become family. I have people in the survivor realm that are more family to me than some of my own family members that, you know, we share the same blood. We all say that.
Yeah.
Um, because it's intense out there. But at the end of the day, when I come home, either we talk afterwards or we don't. I have tough skin. I don't care. We can be friends or we don't have to be. But not everyone can do that, you
Yeah.
know? People come out there and they just know they're gonna win this $1 million and it's day one and they already can tell you 10 things they're gonna do with their money. I'm gonna get a Hummer, I'm gonna get tits, I'm gonna get Louis Vuitton luggage. We just got here. And for me, I just take it one day at a time. That's how I focus when I play games. Just one day at a time. Like, will I survive the murder and can make it to breakfast? Like, can I just survive the next day and go to the next challenge?
Yeah.
Or can I survive this tribal council? Will my torch still come out lit? You know, that's all.
Are you the same way in your personal life where you're like really don't like you have that thick skin where people being upset with you doesn't really bother you that much?
I do. I have thick skin, but I have a heart too. I have feelings. I bleed. I've changed. Had I not changed, I don't think in Winners at War I would have given Denise my immunity idol.
Yeah.
I played with my heart and not my head. I should have known better. Um, but but for the most part, you know, we all go back and forth on something and then I keep it moving. Like I still do my day-to-day things where I don't get really wrapped up into a lot of social media stuff. I try to stay current and I try to post because that's what today, you know, the way we live in society today, you know, it's like you got to post something. So I'll post my birth, I'll post me eating ice cream. Is it relevant? People just want to see what I'm doing, so I give them that. um but I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, I gotta get 2 million followers. That is not my life.
Yeah.
I still love Survivor, I still love reality TV. um I don't know, what was the question?
It was, it was about like if you have that thick skin in your personal life as well.
I do. I do. I try. Listen, when it comes to the new players, I try to reach out. I try to say hello to everyone, and then I keep it moving. I'll develop relationships with some, and not with others. You know.
Yeah. So the anyone but me strategy, the thing I was always curious about, because like the thing that makes that such a good strategy, like especially like because like in my opinion, reality TV is also about marketing, right? So you want to have yourself out there and have these big moments that, and like anyone but me is like just this great thing to get across to people because it seems so simple, so easy to remember, but in actual practice, like how difficult is it to actually stick to that?
It's not. Because even if it's someone in my alliance, why am I going to fight so hard for someone that may not even be fighting that hard for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Um and if I'm not the one being talked about, either how can I change this, and if I can't, then oh well, you know, I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say. Listen, it works for me. It's simple. People don't even have to worry about it. And I've always said, I'm an open book. I have an open door policy. If you got something to say to me or you want to ask me something, come and ask me. If someone's telling you Sandra said this, that, and the third, come and ask me. I'll tell you to your face, because I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, I didn't say, nah, I said that. Or don't give me credit for something I didn't say because I didn't say that, you know?
Yeah.
But they're going to know what I'm about, and I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Like that's what helps me, the fact that I'm so blunt.
Yeah.
I don't care if you know or you don't know. I'm going to tell you the truth from my standpoint. And I'm not going to sit there and like, we lie on Survivor, but if you said, "Sam, I heard you were targeting me," which I was. Or no, the I wasn't. Whoever told you that is trying to set me up. It's one or the other. Yes, I did it, or no, I didn't do it, but I'm gonna tell you to your face. Especially with the camera rolling, like, are you with me? Are you against me? I'm against you. What makes you think I was ever
That was
with you?
that was such an incredible moment.
What do you want me to say? You
Yeah.
want me to no.
Yeah. So one of the parts of your legacy that I am fascinated by was your Island of the Idols experience. What like how do you look back on that? Like was it fun doing that? Like it seemed like it could have been super boring. Like
No,
are you happy you did that?
it was really, really fun. I hate that that season got the kind of screwed up edit that it
Sure.
got.
Yeah.
We know why.
Yeah.
Island of the Idols was really fun. Jeff told me and Boston Rob, hey, there's going to be a totem out there. A totem is just a piece of wood with a bunch of faces on it.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't think it was going to be a 24-foot totem made by the people of Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, so to get there and to see this massive thing, and then I'm like this little in the photo, and then there's my totem right there. I have a pop totem.
That's
You
awesome.
know, um, it was unreal, but the screwed up part was that then we turned around and we played on Winners at War, and the totem was still there. Doing all these pregame interviews, and they're parking, and the boat is right there in front of the totem, and everyone's looking at it. No one is smiling at it. And Jeff had to tell them, yes, Sandra and Boston Rob were out here. Yes, they were out here for 36 days, but they weren't in the game because when we flew out there, the finale and the end of season 39 hadn't even finished. Like we hadn't seen everything. And the families were just saying online and all the on Reddit, everything was like, oh, Sandra and Boston Rob are out here and they're in the game and they're playing and they made it to day 36, like they went to the end, but we were just out there for 36 days on Island of Idols, but we didn't have any part in anything, you know. So Jeff had to say they were not in the game, they were not in the running for the $1 million, they never went to any of the challenges, they weren't a part of tribal council, like they were just there as mentors because the talk was just insane.
Yeah, I can imagine. Especially when you see that huge totem. Like I mean that would put a ton
They
of
don't have a
respect.
totem. Why does Sandra and Boston Rob have a totem, you know?
Yeah.
Well, because I won 2 times.
Yeah. So like what did you guys do though when the players weren't there to visit you? Were you just like hanging out all the time or what?
No, we were always improving our shelter. We never thought, never in our wildest dreams did we think Jeff was going to incorporate that into the game.
Yeah.
just started building a shelter, and Rob would sit there and say, "Man, I wish we had a stargazing net. We could do this, we could do that, we could watch the stars." Next thing you know, the next morning there's a stargazing net washed up on shore,
Yeah.
all wrapped around with a bunch of little pieces of wood and seaweed and sticks, and we're like, but okay, then he wanted a swing at the end at towards the left-hand side of the shelter.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, we got rope for a swing, and we're like, okay, so, but it just wasn't a safe place. Like, we went through the floorboards. I actually fell off the rail. Thank God
I
it was
really.
a couple of inches because we were talking and I was leaning back, but it was never, we didn't really secure anything safely. It was just a bunch of twigs here and there.
Sure.
But you forget in conversation, hey, don't lean against that rail. And there I am. Thank God I just land, on my back right there. But when they decided to use it, they had to then bring in the safety people to really secure everything and then put back the twine and the roots and the stuff that we had wrapped around the poles to secure it. So, but they actually decided to use it late in the game. Like, just
Yeah.
showed up on the helicopter. He's like, I just have to see this thing everyone keeps talking about that you guys are building. So
Yeah. That's fascinating, actually. Something completely unrelated that I'm always just curious about. So you were inducted into the Survivor Hall of Fame. Did that matter to you?
I think I found out about it after the fact a long time later. I don't know that I remember. Was there voting? Was that
Yeah,
included?
it was a fan vote.
Yeah, so I found out about it because I wasn't even initially one of the first ones. It was like Parvati, Russell. I think I was like right? I wasn't among the very first.
I can't remember
Well,
if you weren't among the first. You were what like maybe the second year, but I feel like you were the first year. To be honest with you, I feel like it was you, Boston Rob, Parvati, and
I know Fair
Winfrey.
Play was on there because he's always like Survivor Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So when you see certain names on there, you're like, how great is this?
But like this, but does the fact that you were inducted does that matter to you at all?
It's great to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm just gonna say it's great to be in the Hall of Fame, but what really comes from it?
Yeah.
What have I gotten from it? Like,
A bragging point.
yeah, but I never use it. I never say, "Oh, I'm the Hall of Famer."
Yeah.
Never has come out of my mouth. If you see it, it was AI. My wins speak for themselves. So sitting there and saying Hall of Famer, like, it just, what mattered to me was winning, and that's what I did. And even when I played my first time, I just wanted not to be the first one voted out. It was just one of those things where my two wins supersede Hall of Fame.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that is your obviously your number one credit is beating the first two-time winner and theoretically kind of the only two-time winner because like you said, somebody had to win twice the second time, right?
Hmm.
So, and the other biggest question I have for you is, what do you like want for your future in reality TV? Like, do you want to keep going out there and competing on different shows? Do you have any interest in playing Survivor again? What's the future hold for Sandra?
Um, Other than I only applied for Survivor my very first time, and any time I played after that, they called me. Australian Survivor called me. Traders called me. I'm never looking for them. They're looking for me. But if they see that I'll be a great fit, then that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Call me. I'm retired. I do vacation a lot, but I do have free time. If there's something out there that, would be worth it, I'd do it. I'm pretty much up game for anything, really. But I don't sit here every day like, oh my God, what's the next show? No.
Yeah, so there's no specific shows that you have your eyes on.
No, no. I mean, I did tell Richard Hatch, I was like, Richard, man, I'd love to do House of Villains. I was on the Villains tribe,
Yeah,
uh, but nothing ever came from that. Um, he gave me an email and I just said, hey, if you're ever, because
sure.
Fair Play played, I played with Fair Play. Richard played. I've known Richard for years. So I was like, man, that's something I could do. Larsa Pippen's on there. Why can't I be on there? Like,
Yeah.
We played together on Traders, you know, Bananas was on there. We played together on Traders. So I'm like, I should be in that mix, but nothing ever came from it. But
It seems like a
no,
no-brainer.
like, yeah, if anybody calls me, I'm fair game for anything. They just have to say that's what we want, you know?
Yeah. So I have one more quick question for you that I've always been like fascinated by is like, so you are a two-time winner and you've played 5 times. I find the stat that you all 3 times that you didn't win, that you win out on day 16 to be amazing, especially considering like Australian Survivor goes on for so much longer. So like the fact that you got eliminated on day 16 again is just crazy. Like, do you feel like day 16 is like cursed or anything? Like, like
It
just
is. That was the curse that happened to me on Game Changers when we ate the goat. It was. In the order that we touched that goat, I swear to you, that is the order we got voted off that island.
yeah.
Lied to you not. It is the curse of day 16. It started with Malcolm killing the goat. JT strung it up. I was there grabbing the innards for the chum. Jeff tasted the first piece off the spit. Boom. In that order, we got sent packing. I
So,
that is exactly how it happened. And we didn't know we weren't supposed to, you know, like they didn't say don't kill the goats, but those goats were put there um for sacrificial reasons by the islanders, you know,
yeah.
in their the way they do stuff in their tribes. And no one said don't do it, you know, and after the fact, but it's always been the curse of day 16 for me when it comes to Survivor.
Yeah. So do you feel like if you ever did play Survivor again, you'd either win or get voted out on day 16 again?
I think the chances of me going home on day 16 outweigh 100% the chances of me ever getting far and even winning again.
Yeah.
Straight up. Day 16 did.
I like the day 16 thing just blows me away. It's crazy.
Yep, it's day 16. But the thing that I always tell people, like when I played on Australian Survivor, I was like, either I win or I go home on day 16. And those that vote me out on day 16 end up going home and they don't win the show. So it's like if you but that was a lie because Sarah did that. She voted me out on
Yeah.
day 16 and won the show, but they didn't know that. So I would be like, yeah, you know, either I win or I just go home on day 16 and I ended up going. And the people that sent me home I didn't even have an opportunity to tell them about the curse of day 16 because on Australian Survivor the tribe had swapped.
Yeah.
And I thought I was good because my daughter was in the majority alliance. So I was just going to weave my way in with my daughter, which that didn't work because they kept her out of the loop that they were going to put me out.
Yeah. I mean that's a good move for them for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a huge pleasure to talk to you and an honor. And it was a great conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate it.